our panel discussion, which will be moderated by Professor Dr. Harry Wagner. Professor Dr. Harry Wagner is our business leader for the newly formed Consulting and Transformation practice at KPIT. Formerly, he was the managing director and co-founder of FMS, Future Mobility Solutions, in Geimersheim in Ingolstadt. In parallel, he is also professor at the University of Applied Science in Ingolstadt. Harry has more than 25 years of experience in the automotive industry in various management roles and also companies like, for example, Audi or PSW. Today, we have panelists from Qualcomm, Qorix, and CARIAD, which will be further introduced by Harry. The topic of today's panel, SoC and chip to cloud. Will future EE architectures really accelerate time to market and reduce cost? We are excited to hear from Harry and the team, and over to you. Welcome to the stage.
Thanks, Steffi, for the introduction. Also from my side, hello to everybody. Thanks for coming today to the IAA. I'm delighted that I can moderate this interesting panel. It's about chip to cloud. Steffi has already mentioned it. It's about new EE architectures, and then not enough. It's about how to reduce time to market and save costs. So this is a huge topic. And I don't know if you can imagine, I was given only 25 minutes. So it's not possible to cover the topic unless you have three exceptionally knowledgeable and bright panelists, which by coincidence I have today and which I would like to introduce. First of all, I would like to introduce Vice President, Head of Automotive Software Products from Qualcomm, Laxmi Rayapudi. Welcome. Please, hello. Hi, Laxmi. Welcome. Take a seat, please. Second, from CARIAD, we have Head of Infotainment Functions and Third-Party Apps, Peter Schiele. Hello. Please have a seat. And last but not least, he was already introduced by Sachin. We have Nico Hartmann from Qorix, CTO. Hello, Nico. Welcome today. Please help yourself with microphones. So I would like to start with a general question to all of you. We were talking about chip-to-cloud stacks and, of course, new EE architectures. How do you think that those stacks can really drive the industry towards the software-defined vehicle? Laxmi, please give us your view on that.
That's sort of a loaded question, by the way. Good evening to everyone. So, like Harry said, going from chip all the way to the cloud in 25 minutes is difficult, but I'll try to kind of answer this first question. See, the way, at least from Qualcomm side, the way we see it is, it's kind of a threefold or a three-dimensional thing. The first one is it's all about providing the hardware-software separation, right? How can we kind of enable the developers and the OEMs, everyone to build software on any SoCs that we are kind of putting it out. So we are on to 5th generation now. So aggregating Gen 2 to Gen 5, we have 15 different SoCs. So if someone is, and a lot of our OEMs use pretty much a mix of everything. So when you're developing software and when you are kind of trying to onboard it onto any platform, unless you have that hardware-software separation at a BSP level, it's very difficult. So it all starts from there, and that's how it's been. And then the second, when you go to the second level, that's where this whole SDV nuances kind of starts to play in the sense, how do you virtualize the platform? How do you enable the cloud workbenches? And how do you develop, how do you provide the CI/CD infrastructure for OEMs to kind of build software on cloud and push features whenever and whatever and whenever they want it? That's the second level. And then the third level, which is what we are kind of actively driving, starting from our previous generation, which is Gen 4.5 and current generation Gen 5, is all about mixed criticality. So there is an active drive towards basically going from domain controllers to central compute, wherein heavy domain consolidation is happening, sort of a QM, ASIL-B, ASIL-D workloads, all of them running on the same silicon. So when an OEM is developing software, for them not to worry about what's underneath it, what's the platform, hardware, software, all kind of is all kind of laid out right beneath the application and user surface, and how do we handle these mixed criticality workloads seamlessly for OEMs? So these are the three core areas that Qualcomm is focusing on, and in the process we have developed a solid platform that kind of nicely migrates across the verticals and across the horizontals. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Laxmi, for your comment. Peter, what is your view from a OEM CARIAD perspective in terms of chip to cloud, and how does this drive software-defined vehicles?
Yeah, so from my...
Maybe use the other one. No.
We share one.
Yeah, I have more time. Because you speak.
Okay, so from an OEM perspective, I would phrase it in the following way. So I think it needs three things to make it successful. One thing is to have a standardized hardware platform. We don't have to reinvent for every car line a new hardware platform. That's, I would say, the basis, yeah. And I think you phrased it similar, and that's also very important from OEM perspective. The second topic is, from my perspective, that we need a software factory mindset. So that we are capable of doing DevOps, CI/CD, deploying and developing continuously software and features to the car in short cycles. And the third thing, I think from an OEM perspective, what's very important is also have a strategy for a, let's say, edge cloud partitioning. So what's running on the edge and what's running in the cloud. Quite simple, let's say safety parts should run in the car, of course, yeah. And on the other hand, it's very important to think about those topics that run in the cloud. A trivial example, I would say, is at the moment the LLMs everybody is talking about, and we see this race and the high speed at which LLMs evolve at the moment and are developing. And this is most likely a very good topic to bring first to the cloud and keep up to date with the innovation speed we see there. Despite those three, I would mention one thing. I see still we have a bottleneck when we talk about what was mentioned before, time to market and faster speed and also cost, due to the fact it just shifted. Yeah? So from the, let's say, hardware integration side now to the software part. Yeah? So that's my perspective on that. So we still have the bottleneck. The bottleneck now is on the integration and validation side of the software.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Peter. Nico, from a Qorix middleware perspective, what is your take on driving towards SDV?
First, like, check the micro. Hey, look at that.
Yeah.
With me, it works. Oh, I had more time. I resetted it. Did you turn it off and on again? Yes, I did. Now it's working. Yeah, middleware. As the name says, we are literally in between, right? Because we are in between the with the products that we do, between the application that is mainly the domain of the OEMs and the underlying hardware platform that is mainly the domain of tier ones and the chip vendors, of course. So from a perspective of that, for us, the most important things, not to just end up with three, but maybe I try. The first, for me, most important thing is, can we create a product that makes integration easy and even fun? And I'm saying that because the people who have to do the integration often have a very frustrating experience in doing so. And there are reasons for that are not in our time frame, but we can discuss that later on. And what we try to achieve is to create a middleware in the vehicle that both provides a certain abstraction from the hardware, that is capable of doing missed criticality applications, because I would fully agree that this is an extremely important capability of a middleware to have, and that in the third enables and makes integration much easier than today. And current solutions don't have that. So that's why we go forward with a new one. The other thing is, because it's a chip to cloud thing, if you have such a thing, then it is a thought, it's not there yet, but it's a thought to say, not only in validation can I use that in a virtualized environment in the cloud, I can use that also in an operational environment in the cloud, because if I have a platform that has all these capabilities, why not deploy it in the cloud and simply use it as my standard platform for my applications everywhere, right? Because it can do that. And that would enable me to write the applications only against one single API layer that can run both in the car and in the cloud. So that is for us the big thing, but it's more like the vision thing.
Okay, no, thanks. Very interesting aspects. Let's dig a little bit deeper. Now, we have spoken about chip to cloud. Let's talk about AI, Nico. You mentioned before middleware is the topic. What role does AI play for you in a company like Qorix? And what do you think is crucial for edge AI to really become scalable in the future?
Okay, I give it a try. I had to laugh because I think I talked about AI the whole day, starting this morning, and ending up here in an AI talk when I came here, right? So okay.
Give us a summary.
Yeah, no, I don't. AI. So there's basically let's say two areas where AI is extremely valuable. The one area is certainly the development itself, and with the development, I mean basically three areas. One area is code development. If you master AI, you are better in code development. Fact. You are also worse if you do it wrong. So I say it's like an accelerator. It's like a lever. Second, testing. AI can dramatically improve your testing if you do it right. Third, automation in CI/CD. If you utilize AI to simply get your CI/CD running, you will be amazed how fast you get your problem solved. Fact. So that is the one big thing where AI, I think, is a game changer already today. The other is a little bit more tricky. That is, how can we utilize AI in the vehicle, on the platforms, in a way that we can, well, on the one hand side, utilize the specifics of a platform to not be too common and too slow, and on the other hand, to say, but we want some kind of portability, because currently, especially with AI, the inference systems, so the tensor processing, or however they are called, neural processing units, GPU, whatever, are very different between the vendors. So you have some trouble in getting portable code here. So those two are the utilizations of AI.
Thank you. Laxmi, you are Vice President Auto Software Products. So what do you think, how must automotive software be structured to manage both classical domain logic while really serving next generation agentic AI across the entire chassis?
Yeah, the way I see it, Harry, the domain logic is not really changing. I mean, what's really changing or what's happening is how it's evolving in terms of how it's been exposed, the core domain logic, how it's been exposed to the application space for developers to build all sorts of UX, right? I mean, if you think of it, back in our Gen 2, Gen 3, maybe 6-7 years ago, we just had all these CAN signals that come out, and that we were getting out of the chassis, we were exposing through standard vehicle HAL. That worked. And going into Gen 4, Gen 4.5, the whole SDV migration made us actually put a SOA wrapper around those signals and expose those SOA interfaces for SDV feature enablement. Now what's happening is the AI DV, so the whole agentic AI. what do we need to do? The same SOA wrappers, we need to kind of abstract it out further and create MCP servers and agents, sub-agents, we call them sub-agents, are the chassis agents that are spread across TCU, IVI, ADAS. That's exactly what we're doing. We call it Snapdragon native chassis agents. So we are building all these MCP servers and agents, taking the context from the chassis, same core logic, but wrapping it different for all these agentic applications and assistants and your orchestrators to exercise that. So what's really changing is the core logic remains the same, how it's been exposed to the application surface so that allowing developers to develop applications either for SDV or AIDV. That's what is changing. So that's how we see it.
Okay, very, very interesting. Peter, from an architecture planning standpoint, from an OEM, how must they rethink when separated domains in the future become overall systems, integrated systems, intelligent systems? How are your architecture planners, how do they react or respond to that?
So that's a very interesting question. So I would not say that domains dissolve somehow, yeah, but it's they get closer and closer, let's say, with every generation. And this needs, from an architectural point of view, less planning, let's say, being a little bit provocative. But why do I say that? Because it needs more orchestrating those different domains. They will share the same or common compute platforms, and therefore you need to orchestrate startup sessions, starting up the system and things like that. And this is more of a orchestration task than, let's say, planning task. Yeah, so we plan the startup like this, schedule this, and then and that. 10 millisecond task, 100 millisecond task, and so on. But more of how is the startup orchestrated when they use common compute platforms, and this will, I would say, change. And the second thing, of course, I think everybody talks about it, that we need to think, let's say, more software first than car first, let's say. Yeah. So start with the platform development, not we have this and that car line, and okay, let's come up with a new platform for this car line. And I would say that's brings too much conflicts, and you need too much compromises. Yeah, here.
Okay, very interesting. Now coming from more the technology perspective, more to an organizational requirements perspective, Peter. How do you see the OEMs in the future? Will they be a platform provider or an integrator? What is your vision on that?
Both. Let's just explain. So as an OEM, of course, you need to provide a platform. The simple idea behind that is you have to have a standardized OS, middleware, as you mentioned, yeah, and also backend, because the user experience goes over vehicles and over life cycles. Yeah? And you want to take all your services or your use personalized settings with you also if you change the car. Yeah? So you need to be also platform provider on the one hand side, and of course you need to integrate SOCs from tier ones, you need to integrate cloud providers as well, and of course also third-party services. Yeah? The danger, I would say, I see is when you only act as a integrator, just integrating. By the end, my vision, not my vision, but my prognosis is that you will end up as a hardware provider at the end of the day, and each of us can question where the profit will end. Yeah,
Okay, thank you very much. Nico, Qorix is a fairly young company with a good track record. Now you're seeing yourself in an environment, in an ecosystem with a lot of tech giants. How do you at Qorix position yourself within those tech giants in a more competing world as a fairly young, innovative, but fairly small company as well?
Okay. the tech giants, I guess, are the usual suspects, right? So,
Yes.
okay. Yeah, how do you position yourself? First, I think focus. If you look at the campaigns in the field that tech giants have done, and you look what they do and what they do not do, then there's a certain pattern, I would say. So if you take things like Android, for example, right? Then I would say that ship has sailed, right? You don't try to beat Android out of the water and replace it. There you simply say, okay, but it is very specific, and there is a lot of room apart from those, let's say, tech giant approaches, and I'm not counting them all. And there's one thing that, for whatever reason, they do not really go, and that is safety. And everything that it has to do with high degrees of safety, everything that has to do with mixed criticality is usually not covered by them. And the second thing is, if you really go into the interface between automotive and big tech, if you want, right? Then there is room where you can stay, and that is exactly where we are, right? When we talk about middleware, we talk about middleware that has capabilities that none of the big houses would provide, and for reasons. And that's actually a nice place to be, because it helps actually all players. It helps the OEM in the integration work. It helps the chip vendors to get stacks that have the capabilities that you don't get free of charge out of the field. And it helps the tier ones, because they also get a platform that they don't have to develop themselves. And that can be a standard in the market, right? We do a lot of open source here, so that's the way how we live.
Okay. Laxmi, you at Qualcomm, you were once known as a semiconductor supplier. Now you're positioning yourself as an ecosystem integrator. How does this impact your relationship with OEMs, with software partners? What changes does this, what changes do result from this newly positioning in your collaborations with OEMs?
We are just carrying the same "with you" slogan that Sachin laid out for KPIT. But kidding aside, honestly, I mean, you're right, Harry. So when we started Gen 2, Gen 3 days, 7-8 years ago, we were just a bare SoC supplier, along with some whatever BSP that OEMs wanted. I don't know how many of you know this, but we supported 8 different operating systems, configurations, Linux and Android to Metal, and then when it comes to hypervisors, 4 different hypervisors, QNX, Linux, and then Green Hills and Open Synergy, name it, we got it. But then over a period of time, as everyone talked about, right? So over a period of time, what happened is now the whole OS space is converged. Now, only 2 dominant players. Not only the OS space, even the middleware is all kind of converged to one. And over and above, the OEMs are, as the number of SoCs and everything started to churn more and more, OEMs' interest quickly migrated from focusing so much on, instead of focusing so much on the virtualization BSP, they wanted a standardized platform. They wanted a standardized platform on which they can kind of show the differentiation in the UX and application space. That actually forced, in a way, it kind of forced Qualcomm, as we started to put more and more SoCs in the latest generations, that forced Qualcomm to kind of build a platform that nicely scales and provides standardized interfaces for OEMs. Not only for OEMs, even the whole space is so fragmented, right? I mean, again, Sachin talked about it. It's a $100 million unit pie. That's, instead of kind of slicing it into 20, now it's been sliced into 200, right? So the whole space is so fragmented. Everyone is looking for a platform where the interfaces are standardized, software is standardized, that works seamlessly across SoCs. So that kind of, in a way, it also forced and it kind of created a lot of, it raised a lot of hopes for Qualcomm to kind of be a very active ecosystem player, offering this to all the partners out there. I'm not talking about OEMs. There's so many partners out there, just not only on IVI, even when you get into ADAS space. We are only providing stack, full ADAS stack and then the SoC, but there are a whole bunch of middleware configurations, parking stacks, and there are so many other things that we need to kind of put on the ADAS side. And when you get into the sale, same thing. When you are looking at IVI, whole bunch of partners. So in a way, it kind of the way the whole market evolved forced us to kind of start to put out a platform that works seamlessly for our ecosystem partners, and everyone loved it. The OEMs liked it because their investment started to come down. Instead of dealing with this fragmented software stack, they are getting one stack that works across the verticals, low to premium space, across the generations, from Gen 2 to Gen 3 to all the way to Gen 5, with forward future proofing with respect to API compatibility. Everyone liked it and everyone embraced it. And in the whole process, we built a very strong ecosystem now. So we have pretty much all partners working with us. And I don't know, again, how many of you know this, but Qualcomm is a very dominant player in IVI and ADAS and telematics space. And we have pretty much all OEMs spinning vehicle lines off of our SoCs. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Now one final question. I kindly ask you only for a yes or a no. You see we are running late and they said they'll cut my salary if I'm over time, so okay. So Laxmi, do you see automotive becoming a dominant platform when compared to other product sectors?
I would say it's going to be one of the dominant, it's already one of the dominant platforms within Qualcomm, and it continues to be. I think you know what we guided the street with respect to our pipeline, with respect to the revenue this year. We are at a 4 billion revenue. And then going into 2029, we already guided the street with how much it's going to be. So it's one of our major verticals, yeah.
Thank you very much. Peter, a single unified software platform within the Volkswagen Group, will this become reality in this decade, or let's say within the next 10 years? Think about my salary.
I'm bold, let's be bold, yeah. Yes, one remark on that. So I would say the technical core, we will see in this decade, let's say. But of course, as Laxmi already mentioned, we need for our 11 brands the possibility to differentiate, let's say. So like Audi feels like an Audi and Porsche feels like a Porsche, but this should be happening on the UX and the design area, I would say.
Okay, thank you. Nico, will middleware be the differentiating factor in vehicles in the future rather than today hardware?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So I thank all of you very much for being guests in this panel. Thank all of you for listening. Apologize for being late. We do not have a Q&A session planned for now, but please take the opportunity and talk to the panelists later on in the networking area. Talk also to my colleagues, to the ones you have seen before, to the ones you will still see. And I say thank you very much to everybody, and I'll hand back to Steffi.
Thanks, Harry. Thanks, everyone.